welcome to Spiritism at Noon. We are currently studying the book Empty Lives by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis, written through the psychography of the medium Divaldo Franco. And as we always remind everyone, every chapter is a different subject, and we are studying chapter 21 is Spirit Persecutions. Actually, this is the second part. Um, the week before, we studied the first part of this chapter, and now we are going to continue with the second part. The first part of the chapter, talking about spirit persecutions, basically is when Joanna de Angelis introduces the um, the topic of the continuation of the spirit after death. So, emphasizing that death represents only the disaggregation of our biological bodies, and it has nothing to do with the being that we are, the immortal being that we are. In this case, also maintaining all our progress, the progress that we have been accomplishing throughout several existences, but also our emotions, our affinities, our inclinations. And of course, as we can even realize through our own selves, we know our pros and cons, right? There are things that we know that, well, I am in the right track, and other things that we say, yeah, I know I'm not. And sometimes we even are conscious about it. Sometimes we're not there yet. And sometimes even being conscious about it, we are more in the process of, you know, working on it than necessarily having uh, completely erased this personality trait from us. So, thinking about that and thinking that we have this multitude of beings, spirits that are citizens of the spiritual realm, but is still very much connected to life on earth, and the more inclined or attached to life on earth we are, the more we will be feeling the need to somehow still participate in the journey of spiritual life. So, one thing that those spirits do is actually to find individuals or groups with whom they are going to be attuning. And since we know that planet Earth is still on a phase of trials and atonements, going through a process of, transition to a world of regeneration, this means that the majority of us, still are not in a very good spiritual condition. So, those are the kind of spirits that mostly are going to be surrounding us. Now, talking about ourselves and the efforts we are um, doing to change our ways, to change, you know, because now we realize through reason that this is going to work in our own benefit. Now, of course, we are going to resort to things, to practice, to studies that can strengthen us in this path, and therefore um, make us less prone to become prey of those kind of spirits. So now I'm going to be sharing with you my screen so that we can continue reading from the point where we stopped the previous lesson. and continue with our comments. At this point, do any of you would like to comment something or have any question? Okay, so let's go to the part we are going to read here. Every time you connect yourself to endeavors aimed at personal and social progress, endeavors that work for the evolution of the sentiments, do not neglect prayer. Prayer is fundamental for the success of each and every enterprise. Ponder your weaknesses and strengthen yourself in prayer, anointed by higher energies that will fortify you as you work toward your goal. Be faithful to the objectives you set, and do not dwell on the negative issues that come up suddenly. Be careful about the unkind comments and discouraging remarks that swarm everywhere. Be silent when you are unable to help someone who, unfortunately, does not have the moral strength to act in an edifying manner. Do not add your voice to the chorus of perverse and useless accusers. Avoid valuing the ego, that generator of vanity and presumption. Persist in the purposes you have embraced. So, at this part of the message, after having, clearly established to us the situation of the interconnectivity that we have between the two worlds, how we connect the world of the spirits, the world of the ones that have a physical body. So Joanna de Angelis comes to um, alert her to the fact that, due to the logic conclusion that since the majority of us is still attuned with negative things, you know, this is the high level of spirit population that we have on earth. Not that we do not have the benefactors, they will always be there, they will always be guarding. And like I always say, at least you have one 24/7, which is your guardian angel or whatever other than designation you want to give to this spirit. But even then, even when they want to approach us, then they want to help us, not necessarily we are going to be hearing what they say, because we are not emotionally, spiritually prepared to receive their call with clarity. So they're trying, but there is interference. So this interference, and in terms of the spirit persecutions, is what she's saying here. So every time we want to engage in something noble, uh, in terms of our thoughts, in reading, in conversations, in things, actions that we are going to do, we should resort to prayer to ask for protection, because misery loves company, and they do not want to lose uh, you know um, people that could be joining them in their efforts to hinder progress, because they cannot stop progress. Progress is going to happen anyway, one way or another, but it's going to happen. So this is why she says, do not attune with negativity. If people are, trying to say bad things about you, unkind words, comments, and discouraging remarks. How many people we come to us when we are, finally willing to do something good, and they say, oh, you tried so many times, what makes you think that this time is going to be the one? So I mean, it's it's already something, that can put us down and give up even before starting. So that's why she says, be silent, be careful, be faithful. Do not lose track of what you have already established as being a good proposition for you. And prayer, because again, we communicate through emotions, through our thoughts. And in this way, when I'm occupying my mind with something positive, something holy, uh, there's no place for, the negativity to come and take over. Any question or comment? Yes, Sonia?
When we have someone discouraging us about the good behavior, I believe it's easier for us to know about this and try to protect us. Then when we have like to not do well the negative issue to come up suddenly, something inside ourselves, then I believe it's difficult most of the time, you know, and this is exactly, it's not about myself, but something influence ourselves.
Mhm.
Then I spent years to understand in about this situation. The only way I can help myself is to pray. When I feel like pop in my mind some bad and negative thoughts and feelings and start to create an illusion bad things could happen, the only way, the only tool that help me is to pray.
Mhm.
And this time it's not a nice prayer. It's like, my guardian angel, please protect me. Jesus, please put light in my mind to clean my mind, to clean my feelings, because it's not easy for us to protect ourselves from something inside ourselves.
Yes, and that is quite hard, and thank God now. I mean, we can even recognize not only the change in others, but in ourselves, right? When we clearly see that there are more forces at place than simply that one person that is now before you, contradicting you, trying to engage you in an argument or something. And the best response is actually silence, even on our part, if we could, by realizing that, someone is taking over, is no longer me. Maybe if we could just say, I cannot talk right now, and go and lock yourself in the room until that passes, in the sense that, of course, that a spirit that is perhaps trying to cause a distress, will lose its patience and say, okay, there is no one that I can engage into an argument right now. So, but it's, and the other thing is really that, like you say, praying, but it's really hard. It's really hard sometimes, and maybe, I mean, the best thing, it will always be like, be quiet and do not put more fire into the discussion, and say, you know what, this is not the we can see that we are clearly emotionally in distress. It's better if we talk about it uh, a couple of hours from now. let's reason, let's not lead passion. That sometimes, like we are saying here, this is what Joanna de Angelis is saying, there will be interference so that we will not have peace. And we see that when she says here, especially, nowadays with all the wars and etc., the spirits are asking us to maintain ourselves, in prayer, in a different stage of mental outlook, you see it, to not add to the hatred, separatism, and all those things that would only aggravate more the conflicts that already exist. So we have to be very careful in the sense with what we are going to be, or how we are going to be positioning ourselves, what we are going to be saying, so not to uh, become more a harm than a good in a situation like this. Any other comment or question? So let's read a little more. Do not let yourself be discouraged by the aggression of others who delight in creating obstacles for those who do not yield to them in idleness and the swampland of moral indignity. They do not believe in those who are bearers of ideals in life. Do not be in a hurry to achieve the desired results. Learn to trust God, especially in difficult times. Face it with some failure that causes you to suffer. Understand that the Lord means for you to take a different approach. Repeat the good deeds as many times as required with the enthusiasm of the first attempt. Never rebel against your persecutors. They do not know what they're doing. You will win them over with patience and love if your intention is to serve and to do what is best. So, uh, everything that she's saying here, we know that it does represent, for the moment, our normal reactions, right? I mean, we are much more used to engage in a discussion, in an argument, or in being aggressive, uh, depending on the circumstances. This is still more our second nature than really to have a good response. We are working on changing our second nature, right? So this is why, the aspect, and so many philosophers talk about this, the mindfulness, really paying attention to what we are saying, sometimes in a very, not thinking through way, we say something that may provoke a negative reaction. um, and there are so many people that are really are in this kind of circumstance where they are non-believers of everything, including themselves. And so it is, I mean, again, they will, I mean, it's not that they want to confront us and say, you're not going to do that, be able to do that. It's because, thinking for themselves, they know they would not be able to do that. And so to them, we are the same. People are the same according to their viewpoints. So it's not that they just want to, contradict us. So we have to think about it as well. So the way, like she says here, it's always repeating the good deeds, because after all, every time we manage to not give way to our negativity, negative emotions, and inconsequential comments and harshness and rudeness and bad deeds, we are the ones that are going to be happy, feel happy with ourselves. Oh my God, I was able to, really think about things true and uh, I was able to do this work that I wanted to do, this thing that I wanted to do. I could help, and that we do that because of ourselves. It's not to show the world. It's not even to show God, because God created us, and God knows that we are doomed to become uh, perfected spirits, right? So it sees already all the light in us, so it doesn't. We don't need to show it to God. It's really ourselves. And when we think about all of those, there are the persecutors that comes with their negativity. Sometimes we don't think about the burdens they themselves are going through, the little structure they have to deal to cope with the challenges of life, and so they just send out to the world their bitterness and their negativity, and even thinking that they are helping us. Oh, this person is dreaming too much, is going the fall is going to be bad, so let me be the hero here and discourage the person from the beginning, not to get a disappointment. Sometimes people even think about it this way, with me. So, yeah. Any comment or question?
It's
Indeed.
very difficult to change this kind of ideas that people has since they born, like education in whole life, and then they really believed in certain ideas. And then when we talk about to help others, fraternity, usually they say, you're crazy. You're going to hurt yourself if you try. And then it's not easy. But
Mhm.
while we are going to age, we are learning about this different point of view. And then if you want to continue this path, we need to be in silence and go straight.
Yeah. I mean, it is sad, right? But it's like these people lost their inner light, and this is another reason why we should be, really have a compromise with ours, because the more they see that it's possible, because sometimes, we just are afraid to dream that high, and when we see people doing it and achieving it, it gives us hope. So this is what we have to do. We have to inspire hope. Nowadays, again, with everything that we are going through, this turmoil in our world, uh, it's very easy for people to lose hope, to just live in fear. And many times because they think, we are just like a vessel in the middle of a storm and without any kind of command. And there is no captain on the boat, but there is a captain in the boat. And the captain is really, I mean, this captain really knows what to do, and has been saved us from so many other storms, right? So individuals are different in their spiritual evolution. in the way they face problems and challenges, and the manner in which they experience ideas and struggle. Be yourself, imprinting your special way of being and doing on all your acts. If you have role models, remember that they also have their own models who serve as the example and guide, and that they are fallible like you. So give them the right to exercise their own values as they feel is best. Do not believe that your way of doing things is the best. Certainly, it is of great use for your personal fulfillment, but it's not a reference for other people's achievements. Have the honest humility to know your limits and do not love yourself less for it. You will reach the culmination of your trajectory, but at the right moment when it becomes possible. I think this is so beautiful that she brought it here. You know, we are so far from, sorry, from perfection that we cannot imagine that we have all the answers. Go ahead, Marcel.
I would like to share something that happened to me another day. My friend asked me, Marcel, how is your relation with your mother-in-law? In that moment, I don't know, I started to talk a lot bad things. It's not good, she do this, she do that. I'm not, in that moment, I was not realized that it's a bad energy that I bring into this conversation. She's not a spirit, but she just changed the issue. And wow. And I realized that I learned with her that she is cutting this bad circle of bad energy, bad. And now I learned with this, and before I started to talk, I need to think this will bring good things, good energy for us. So we are always fallible, no? That she said in this comment. So it's okay. Sometimes we can get wrong things, but it's okay. We are learning. So I think I learned that day, and now I always remember this before start to talk something, especially when I have bad relations. and I want to be a person that cuts bad conversation like her in a good way, like changing issues, not badly, no, just changing, and that's it.
That's really interesting that you brought this, Marcel. Uh, I was thinking that, a good answer could be, it's a challenge, but I like a good challenge. Right? I mean, I think people will understand. And the thing here is not just that when we do that, we bring negativity to the conversation, but at the same time, the more we voice our emotions, the more we aggravate them. It's like I'm sending all this energy that is always, it's a difficult person, it's impossible to live with, and that has this and that flaws. And I mean, it's really tricky because it's not like, just not acknowledging, but is actually not emphasizing more in order not to aggravate it. So, yeah, it's a difficult person. Time will tell. Time will work in our favor, but for the moment, it's still hard. So, but yes, and it's a very good example that you gave. Every time we could try to change subject in a, of course, in a diplomatic way, and sometimes, we even joke, hey, it was just a rhetorical question. Right, I was not expecting a confession. Something like this, right? But it's what De Angelis is saying here, we have to do our best. And even when we are doing our best, knowing that it's not necessarily the best of the best, but it is the one that actually fits with us. I think that in this process of spiritual progress, there is not one size fits all. Each one of us will have a different path, a different shape, and that maybe for me, this path is not the one that attracts me, but for other person it is. And maybe they will do more progress in their path than I do in mine, that maybe even be considered better than the other path. But it's everything about how we relate to it. So I may be, in a wonderful place, but if I'm not retaining and putting in practice their ideals, what is the point? And others may be in some, limited, a place with limited ideas, but they do that, they go through it. So that's why she says, and remember that even, people that we consider as role models, I mean, they if they are on this planet, most of them, and when I say most, is 99% of them, is still dealing with their things. You see, that's why they say there was just one perfect on this earth, that was Jesus. There were some that came close, but this close is still very far. So that's what we have to think about.
But sorry, this line that she said, be yourself, imprint your special way of being and doing on all your acts, is so beautiful, because each one has something good to spread for our no?
Yeah, we have, I don't know, Philip, is this the expression, do not let people rain in your parade?
Yeah, that's a very good expression. Just get your umbrella out.
Right, because sometimes you do something with such love, and people, or let's say that you're painting your house in a very beautiful green, and some an individual will come to your house and, oh, green, what are you thinking, right? So I mean, it is me, it is the way I like, it's what brings me joy. If you don't, you're not, you don't live here, you're not obliged to live here. So this is what we're talking about here. Yes, Philip?
There's one other comment that goes with why did you pick green? Why didn't you paint it the same color as mine? That's the one I got.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, if I like it, you have to like it, right? I mean, and it's so easy for us to do that. Like, I don't like coffee at all. And there is this famous dessert that is named tiramisu, that is made with it's like a cake and cream, but it's bathed in coffee. And so quite so often people say, no, you have to try it. No, it doesn't taste like coffee.
It's true.
I do.
It does taste a lot, I mean, But you understand that and there is a difference when it comes from a point where you really want people to share that what is so important for you and that you like it so much, right? But sometimes it comes from a place of selfishness, of egocentrism, because it's like, I mean, if I like it, has to be the best. And so, and I think that when she says that, be yourself, you're doing things because of yourself, because of how you feel, because what you really understand and believe that is the best way for you to deal with life. So, like that of yesterday, in the unjust world of today, all individuals face enemies, obstacles, difficulties. That is very natural. The important thing, however, is not to be an opponent, an impediment, or a wall that hinders the access ahead. Even Jesus, who was love incarnate, faced a wave of human obstacles and persecutors. He endured them with benevolent compassion, and to this day, he works for the regeneration of all of them. So I what she's trying to say here is like, let's not just waste our time to engage in this kind of confrontation. How come you don't accept this? How come you don't like this? How come you don't think my way? You have to. And I mean, and while we are engaging in those things, we are wasting time in actually improving ourselves. And sometimes it may even lead us to question our own faith and role in the world. So let's just accept the inevitable for the time being, which is, yes, there are people that are in different stages of involvement, and they have different interests, but at the end of the day, they are all here because of the love of God, to have opportunities to grow and to live life very much like ourselves. So it's up to each one of us, to do the best that we can, to keep up with the good work, and not be so much oppressed and discouraged if we don't see responses that we would like to see in the world. Even when we think about Jesus, I mean, it took almost 4 centuries for Christianity to be accepted as, a faith in the Roman Empire. And imagine if Jesus would say, oh my God, it's going to take so long, 4 centuries. All right. What's the point of doing that? Right? Like we say, what's the point of planting this tree that is going to take so long to give me fruits? If everyone thinks about that, we will never do anything. In our term of spiritual involvement, many people can come and question, say, oh, but it's still not so good. Yeah, no, I'm not, but I'm be sure that I'm doing my best. And I have a commitment to that, right? Or like Divaldo used to say, one time a person approached him, talk bad things about someone that they knew, that were not having, a good behavior. And then the person ends the conversation by saying, and can you imagine that he is a spiritist? And Divaldo replies, thank God he's a spiritist. Imagine if he wasn't. Right. So this is what we are today. Thank God we are spiritists, because if we were not spiritists, oh my God, I cannot even imagine what would be like unruly children, you know, um, going from one wrongdoing to another, and without even having this realization. So basically, the lesson here is we survive, We survive with our emotions, with our sentiments, with our inclinations. There is a direct connection with both worlds, the world of the spirits and the world of the living in the sense of having a corporeal body, because there is always life from the moment we are created. And of course, we are going to find adversity in the sense of or adverse of spirits and people that will try to discourage us to go in pathway to good, because it is easier for them not to have to face the reality that if people are changing, it means that I should be working on my inner change as well, and I'm not. So I still wanted to be in the comfort zone, which is not the one that is more that works in my favor, but it's where I want to be. So this is when she tells us not even Jesus escaped from that, from persecutors, from people, bad mouthing him and creating all the sort of obstacles and difficulties. And we're not going to, or we should not let all of this to become walls in our dreams and to prevent us to go and work, because this is our destiny. Our destiny is that of progress and happiness. Any comment? Question?